Hello, veterinary friends. Welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. Today, I have a wonderful guest for you. Her name is Jenny Lytle. She is a nurse for over 30 years, specializing in hospice and end-of-life care. She's the author of the book, Self-Care Isn't Selfish, The Compassionate Nurse's Step-by-Step Guide to Personalized Stress Relief. Jenny helps nurses and other caregivers through her proprietary Becoming method, providing practical, personalized strategies to manage stress, prioritize self-care, and continue caring for others with greater impact. Welcome to the podcast, Jenny. I'm delighted to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm excited because your profession and our profession is very similar. And I think the title of your book is so important because we all need better stress self-care and better stress management.
Yes, absolutely. It's something that I definitely think it crosses those lines. I know as nurses, as people caregivers, we really struggle with taking care of ourselves because we're so busy with everybody else. And I'm sure that's the same for you. When you're in that caregiving mode and you're in that giving of yourself and trying to heal other people, you kind of put yourself on the back burner a bit.
Yeah, and some people don't understand that we are really caring for people as well
Hmm.
because the pets all come with people attached to them. And so a lot of our job is managing people, not just
Right.
the pets, right?
And that's probably the hardest part. I mean, like
It
the
absolutely
family
is.
members, a lot of times are much more difficult to communicate with than the patient themselves are.
Yeah,
So
I always joke that our job would be really easy if the pets just came in with credit cards attached to their collars and no
right,
people. It would be easy.
right. For sure.
So I'm happy to have you. And the first question I ask all my guests is to tell me their story. So you can start wherever you want and tell me how you got to where you are today.
All right. Well, like you said, I've been a nurse now 31 years, and I went to practical nursing school right out of high school, and I went with my mom because my mom, well, she was pregnant with me when she graduated from high school, so I joke that I graduated with her twice. um,
That's awesome.
and so when I got out of high school, she had wanted to be a nurse but was busy being a single mom raising me, and
Yeah.
so she decided to apply, and we both got in and went through our nursing program together. And so that was that was something that, I mean, it was cool then, but now, looking back, I just realized like how much of a gift that really was.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was great. And then we actually even worked at the same place first, but she worked on one end and I worked on the other, and we worked two different shifts. But occasionally we saw each other passing. So that was cool too. But I was her only child, and um, she ended up living next door to us and helped with the kids and all kinds of stuff because she had some health issues and she had been on disability for a while. And um she wasn't working in nursing anymore, but was still like very involved with our family, very involved with trying to help others in some capacity. She was big on like free cycle groups and Facebook groups where she was trying to, help people who maybe didn't have, enough food or clothing, those kind of things. She tried to kind of match make people that way. And um, she was so much of a caregiver that she neglected her own needs a lot, and like so many of us do.
Right.
And so I had been, I started in hospice 20 years ago, and I had done that for about 12 years, and I ended up really burned out. I had awful boundaries. I really wanted to be somebody I wanted to be the go-to person. And it was at a time in my life when I had, I had a great family. I still have a great family, but I just, there was so much going on at home that it was easy to get my fulfillment at work. I knew what I was doing there. People appreciated me and told me how great I was. And that didn't always happen at home. And it was kind of a perfect storm. So
Yeah, I understand that feeling.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you don't set out for it to be that way,
right.
but later, I realized, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I'd known that it was time to leave for a while, leave work, not my family. And and I did. And when I did, it was a tough decision because I'd been with this company for, for a long time, and it was locally owned and small, and it was like this dysfunctional family, and so there were things that I didn't love, but I really loved a lot of the people. And still some of my best friends, are from there or still work there. And I realized about a month, well, no, I think it was just a couple of weeks actually, after I left, I had taken my kids to school and I was so excited. I was walking every day. I'd drop them off at school and I'd go to the park and walk. And I thought, gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do for sure now, but it's going to be great. I can just figure out how things can be different. And then I realized I don't know who I am. And that's how my book starts is, I'm walking in the park and I just get this, who am I? And I thought, if this is not who I am, if I'm not a nurse, if I'm not a hospice nurse, if I'm not a hospice nurse here, then what am I? Who
Mm,
am I? And so that led me to coaching and a lot of work, a lot of time, money, exploration into figuring out all of that, and trying to figure out, like, who am I and who do I want to be, and is that lining up, and what do I want the rest of my life to look like.
nice.
And so when I was finally, I was kind of starting to get a handle on that, and I thought, this is something I want to help other people with too. Then my mom died,
Oh,
and that was sudden. And
sorry. Oh,
um and so I realized that, yes, she had these health issues. And yes, we knew, because it was a ruptured brain aneurysm. And we knew that she had that. We knew that it was there and she was going to get it fixed, once she got all these other things taken care of for everybody else,
it was on the back burner.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Oh, that's sad.
And, if it would have been me, then she would have been saying, now you've got to get that done. You've got to get that done. If it would have been you, she would have said that
Right,
to you.
right, but not to herself.
Right, right.
Wow.
And so that really that really made me realize, like, how important being able to fit ourselves into all of our caregiving agenda
Sure.
has to be.
Wow.
And the more that I've talked to, and primarily who I've talked to, is women, even though there's plenty of men who are doing the same things, but we're so caught up in taking care of everybody else, making everybody else's needs a priority, that we don't have the time or the energy or even the know-how. It's like, yeah, I know I need to take care of myself better, but I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have the energy, and
Hmm.
I don't even know where to start.
Right,
And so that's kind of what led me to, to where I am, what I'm doing, and what I'm trying to do in terms of really getting people to understand that, self-care does not have to feel like another full-time job. It doesn't mean neglecting other people, and it's not just, spa days and beach vacations, although those are wonderful, but
right,
it's those little things that we can fit into our lives and figure out what it is that really fills our cup. Because, what works for me, what makes me think, you know what, okay, I can keep going, that may be completely different than what does that for you.
right.
So that's why the personalized approach comes in for me.
Yeah, I like that word because self-care has kind of become like a buzzword,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't always know what that means. And
Right.
I agree with you that it's very individual. Like some people, self-care is their work even,
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
be because they love it so much or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, you went through coaching. Tell me kind of how that evolved for you as far as how did it feel to be coached? What did you discover about yourself? And then how did it lead you to this book and then inventing this method that you invented?
Sure. So yeah, being coached, that was something that was kind of a foreign concept to me, because I'd heard of life coaches and I thought life coaches were things that like rich and famous people had.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't know what it is, right?
Right.
It sounds like only a rich people thing, like Hollywood celebrities do, right?
Exactly. And, that's not exactly me.
No.
Um, but then I realized that, and I had been through therapy and stuff when I was younger, and I didn't completely understand the differences between the two. And to
Right.
me, like, just without really thinking it through, just the way I kind of initially felt about it was life coaching is kind of a little more frou-frou. Like, you go to therapy if you really want to make a difference. Life coaching, just people are going to like cheer
It's
you
for
on. And
fun.
yeah, yeah. Just you don't have anything else to do. So go get coached.
If you have a lot of money that you want to spend, just coach.
Right, right.
That's what you thought.
Pretty much. And so instead, I realized that, wow, it's like this way of helping me to see who I am more clearly. And it's not
Right.
because somebody else is telling me that, but it's because they're able to, pull those things from me and talk to me and ask me questions that really help me to figure out, oh, you know what, like all these things that I feel like I don't know, no, like I do know. They're just buried really deep because maybe I'm afraid of what I'm feeling. Maybe somebody else has told me something different for a long time.
Mhm.
And so just being able to see like how powerful that is, and that, like, to be a coach, you don't have to be an expert on all things.
No.
It you don't have to be an expert on many things, really.
Right.
It's just, it's understanding that, that our job as coaches is to bring out those parts of our clients that they're needing to be able to get a little more acquainted with and see and get that clarity with. And I had, been a nurse for a long time, but I originally I wanted to be a nurse because when I was young, I was sick and I liked their thermometers. So that was my, that was my
You like the
initial,
technology.
yeah. But then later I wanted to be a therapist or a psychologist. I wanted to do something with people and, and their
Interesting.
emotions and all of that. And so, and again, coaching is not therapy, but I love that's what I like most about nursing is the interpersonal stuff. I don't like all the really technical stuff. I mean, that's what I do because I'm a nurse, part of
Right.
that, but I
Right.
love the people part.
Right.
And
Meeting
so
the characters and seeing how people
yes,
are wired. Yeah. That's fun.
absolutely. And so coaching is like that perfect fit.
Right.
And then when I when I talked to my husband, I was trying to kind of explain it to him. And we are complete opposites in just about every way. I have all these ideas and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And he's like, okay. Like, so if you're gonna be a life coach, shouldn't you like be really good at life? And I'm like, so what are you
That's
saying
kind of a
here?
slam.
I
Yeah.
know. I was like, well, that was nice.
That's so funny. I love that.
but I was like, well, I mean, I feel like I probably am, but I don't know that. And I'm like, really quick, get out of my head.
You're like, I'm going back to my life coach because they're nicer to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's so funny. I love
He
that.
is very supportive, just, in his own way. And there's
Well,
things
and
that,
still, it just goes to show that whole idea of what's a life coach. Like people don't really understand it.
Mhm.
And I think the thing that was so fascinating to me when I discovered it and I started getting coached, it was like this is stuff like is like magic when you go through it for your life. So
Yes.
then you get excited and you're like, okay, everybody needs somebody to do this. And if you have
Hmm.
the capacity to do it for nurses or whoever, just for any random person, right?
Hmm.
That it's really something that you want to share with people because it really does change you.
Right, right. I had a client that it was so amazing because she was not a nurse, but she was someone who came to me a different way. And the things that she would say, like she had some limitations, like, physically and emotionally and stuff. She did have a few challenges, but she was also like middle-aged, and so many of these things that she would say, well, like she couldn't go across a bridge, like because her mom told her that, well, you've got to, what if you fall off? And she couldn't tie her shoes because, well, she couldn't do it quickly enough. So, I mean, so these are all these things that she
These
carried.
stories that you have buried in
Yes.
your head. Yeah.
And I was like, but what's the rush? What if you did? And it was so fun, really, to just kind of untangle some of that stuff. And it happened so quickly, just
Sure.
with, and then she realized, wait, well, you know what, maybe I can do this. And then it just like was one thing after another. And it's
Right.
like you said, it can be so magical when you're talking to someone, and then there's that, and it can be, on either side, and you just feel that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow, that it's, yeah, it's one of those things you have to experience, I think, to really
Right.
to really get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me either about your whole philosophy on self-care and what that means, or if you want to talk about that method that you came up with, if that explains it better,
Okay.
whatever you think will work, kind of explain that to me.
Sure. So the becoming method. So we'll start there, and we'll see if that gets everything answered. And if not, then we'll
Okay.
move on into the other.
I'll
But
ask some questions.
so when I started my company, I wanted it to really be focused on the fact that, we're not trying to get from here to there. It's always a process. And so I believe that we're always becoming who we're supposed to be. And it's
Yes.
not, I plan to be becoming until I die.
Sure.
And and so it's my company is Becoming Your Best with Jenny Lytle RN.
I love that.
And so, thank you. And so then when I was looking at, when I was kind of trying to figure out, like, how can I simplify this? Because like I said, I spent, a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of trial and error, just trying to kind of piece things together and figure out, like, how do I know what I need? How do I figure all that out? And how do I put it together in a way that other people can use it and get the transformation more quickly and more easily, and without all of this, extra stuff that's not
Right.
needed. And so I kind of had some ideas of things, and I knew that I wanted to do that. And then as I was putting them together, I thought, I can put this into a framework. And I ended up using Becoming, because I felt like that was a great word for transformation anyway.
Sure.
And so yes, it starts with each letter stands for a particular thing, and like the B is
Okay.
baseline. And so where are you now? Because if you're wanting to get to somewhere else, you need to know where you're starting from, to begin with, and kind of maybe
Right.
have a general idea in mind, but that can even be kind of fuzzy. But
Right.
so that's really figuring out, and usually I do like a wheel of life and some other different exercises there when I'm working with someone. But
Kind of getting to know yourself, kind of like
yes,
more of a self-awareness practice.
absolutely.
Yeah, because
And
I believe that that's kind of always where it starts anyway, is just
mhm,
understanding what's going on.
right. And
Mhm.
how many of us take the time to do that?
I,
I'm
I don't think anyone does unless they really either have a moment like you had of like,
mhm,
oh, when your mom died and you're jarred awake, like, oh, I got to do something because
mhm,
life is short,
right.
or you're just too busy and too focused on, the juggling act, which we all kind of do if we have kids and work,
Mhm,
and yeah, you kind of get sucked into that and you just never even think about it, about what's going
absolutely.
on with you. Yeah.
Right. It's just, one foot in front of the other, just trying to keep going.
Right.
And so each letter it all kind of plays off the nursing process anyway, because and I don't know if there's the same thing in the animal world where you kind of do things, there's, I'm sure, different systems and processes that you use to kind of, assess and diagnose and plan and
Right.
implement and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of similar to that in some ways, but it's looking really at the things that, what are the things that you enjoy? What are the things that light you up? Because as adults, sometimes we don't pay any attention to those things. We know what our friends like to do, what our spouse, what our kids, what all of that. And we do the things that they want to do, or we do the
Right.
things that we have
And
to
then
do.
you assume that that's what you enjoy because that's what your kids enjoy or whatever, rather
Right.
than really sitting down and say, what have I always wanted to do that I haven't done?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get there? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what are
So
the things,
that's the
that I
E,
used to
is E
enjoy?
enjoy.
Yes, it's
E is
actually
enjoy.
excitement.
All
Yes,
right. Oh,
yes,
excitement. Okay.
yes. And
I'm
then
writing it down. That's why I'm asking.
sure, sure. and
I like to
and
take notes.
yes, I'm a note taker too. It helps keep me focused too. So
Right.
and the C is confident. So those things that that just make you feel good. There's the things that we know we do well and that we enjoy doing in that way. And so, looking at some of those, and the O is for only you, because we do have unique gifts, and sometimes we don't see those, or we take our own gifts for granted because we assume if something comes easily to us, then it does to everybody else too.
Right.
We admire things in other people, but we think, oh well, everybody can do whatever this thing is that I can do, because that's just kind of the way, that's the way it seems. But being
Right.
able
Well, and
to,
we have that negative brain that's always telling us we're not good enough, we're not
right,
perfect. And so that's loud. It kind of buries all the stuff that we're really good at because we don't see it.
right,
Our brain's
absolutely,
always telling us we're not good enough. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Love that.
And the M is meaning. And so, what are the things that are meaningful, that are meaningful to you? What would bring meaning to your life if that's something where you're kind of struggling with that? And then uh the I is completely escaping me right now because it has been a long day. The I. My
Go
goodness.
on to the N and you'll think of it.
The I is no. Okay, the N is neat. Oh my gosh.
That's okay.
You
Don't
know
worry
what? I
about it.
used to have this right up here just in
I
case that would happen.
I
And since I
totally
don't,
understand that
okay,
I
let me
forget things too.
here. I've got a book here. Let me look.
Yeah,
Oh
read
my
your book.
gosh. Intention. Intention. There
I
we
love it.
go. My goodness. I was thinking implementation, and I was like, no, that's the
No,
nursing
that's
part.
not it. Yeah.
Yeah. So intention.
Okay. I love that.
Looking at what you want life to look like, what you want the rest of, maybe it's a particular season in life, or maybe you're looking at your overall life and wanting to do a big overhaul.
Yeah.
So, and then the N is need. So what things need to change in order to do that? Do you need people to help you out with some of that stuff? Do you maybe need to quit trying to do everything yourself? Do you, if you know that you're in a toxic relationship, whether that be personal or professional or whatever, what do you need to do in terms of that? And then the G is go. So it's a matter of
Yeah,
putting
I
it
love
all
that.
into place.
Fun. Well, that's cool. That's a really good framework. And that would be a really good way to coach somebody through this kind of process of self-care.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it's a way to really get, instead of just thinking, okay, yeah, I know I need to do something. And there's anybody can start with things like breathing,
Sure.
slow
Yeah,
down.
those cliche things that we talk about all the time, they actually
Right.
do work, right?
Exactly. And
Like, yes, you
that's
can do all of that. Yeah,
right. And people, sometimes that'll be the, oh, well, I know that. Well, knowing and doing are two different things.
sure.
And it's when you think about that and go, okay, you know what, maybe I'm actually going to give this a try. And then you do and realize, oh, okay, well, that does help a little bit. And
Right.
so maybe I can fit in some of those little simple things. And then sometimes that gives you just enough confidence, or just a little bit of margin, a little bit of breathing room,
Hmm.
to be able to then maybe look at doing something a little bigger, a little deeper, maybe going for a date with yourself for an hour and doing something that just you enjoy. And that may be, sitting in a coffee shop and reading a book. It may be people watching, or going to a, pottery class, or getting a massage. That just depends on what it is that you really need right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful exercise. It's something, there's a book called The Artist Way. And
Yes.
one of the challenges in there is to take yourself on an artist date, which basically means anything, but you
Mm-hmm.
just go all, totally alone. You go to like an antique store and walk through, or you go to the coffee shop or whatever it is. But it's a powerful exercise on just like being with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you can discover a lot about what you enjoy by just doing that once a week, or just, painting or whatever, something you haven't done before, but something different that just kind of unlocks your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
That's
that
kind of
is
the
something
same
that's,
idea.
yeah, those are
Yeah.
great things to do. And I love that book.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It
Yeah.
is.
And I think I did a podcast on it a few weeks ago because I thought it was so good. And I kept thinking about I need to read it again because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But whenever I'm feeling like highly stressed or highly like not myself, I think that is a really good place to start. It's just like, you know what, I'm just going to go somewhere different and do
Mm-hmm.
something that really doesn't require anything of me other than just being and just to kind of get out of your stress. I used to do that when my kids were little on my day off from vet med. I would drop my son off at school. I have a daughter and a son. My son's the youngest. I drop him off at school, and near me was like an antique kind of craft mall place. It was this big giant place with all this junk in it. And they played this like old music, like from my mom's era, like 50s and 60s music. And it just was the most relaxing place to me.
Mm-hmm.
So on my day off, I dropped my son off and I would just every once in a while go walk through that place for like 30 minutes or an hour. And I really didn't buy anything, but it was more like just walking through and looking at all the junk. And that was just that was a self-care thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be something really simple like that.
Right. Yeah, it does, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It doesn't have to be anything expensive or, that you really have all these big plans set up for, it's just
Right.
those
Which is how we
those
usually
little
operate.
things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We try to make it so much more complicated than it needs to be. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of our mind's way of tricking us sometimes.
Yeah. Tricking us into just working because we've got
Right.
these other tasks on our mind.
Right.
So, what do you think it is about women who are in these caring professions that causes us not to take care of ourselves? Do you have a theory on that?
Well, I do. I do. I think that for a lot of us, we were raised that way. We were around women who were the ones who were the caretakers, who were, and maybe even they were working. It's not so far back that that's all the women did. And I'm not saying
Right.
that's all.
Sure.
That's not enough. But my stepmom, my mom, they all worked, but they also took care of all the other needs and
Everything. Yeah.
and
Everything.
right. And so that was just kind of expected. I mean, if you're looking at a traditional, family, which my parents were divorced, but then, I mean, yeah, maybe dad's working and yeah, he's probably doing some stuff, but mom's the one that's really, she's taking care of all of the other things. And most women still do. We're the ones taking care of all of the and I can't think of what that's called right now. But basically all of the family stuff, all of the keeping everybody connected to each
The
other.
schedule and
Yes,
the papers that
yes.
come home with the kids. And I used to laugh because I worked full time and my husband did too. But he'd come to me and I'd say, "Oh, we got to go to the concert tonight for such and such one of my kids." And he'd be like, "Well, nobody told me that. How was I supposed to know there was a concert tonight?" I'm like, "Well, how do you think I found out? I read the
Right,
papers that came home with the kids and I checked the calendar."
right.
It's something that the moms just like automatically did and kept everyone else on track.
Yes.
But it's something that doesn't always get considered that there's some task involved in that as well.
Right. And all
Like
of
you
that
have to
stuff
actually
adds
pay
up.
attention, right?
Right. And my husband, we're empty nesters now, and my
Yeah,
husband is retired.
yeah,
It hasn't changed, like, still.
exactly.
And I mean, like, we have a Google calendar. He can see all
Right.
of that. I mean, he
Yeah,
doesn't, but he could if he were to look at it.
sure.
And every week I write the calendar on the fridge too. I mean, just kind of the overview
So
of
it's
of
easy.
what
Yeah.
I've got and what, so that I can look up there. And he's like, "Hey, so when such and such?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, just a minute here." I had to raise my head up to it just but yeah, it's still that same type thing. And I don't know, I don't know where you sit with this, but for me personally, I'm a Christian, and the way that I was raised is, you put others first.
Right.
You've got to love your neighbor, and but there's that whole love your neighbor as yourself. And so if you're caring for your neighbor, then why aren't you caring for yourself?
Right, right. Well, I
And
think we forget that part. I
yeah,
always like when people use the analogy of the airplane with the mask
oxygen
on.
mask. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cliche thing because everybody talks about it, but it really is so true that, as working parents, just as working professionals, you're taking care of your staff, you're taking care of your patients, you're taking care of all the people around the patients, you're taking care of your home and all of that. And we always put ourselves last, and it's
Hmm.
such the wrong way to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So,
that's one of the things that I really that I really push back against, and and encourage people to just consider, because I was working with a woman and she was talking about the fact that well, I don't have time for self-care because I
Yes,
have all of these people that need me, and I'm like,
right.
okay, but isn't that all the more reason why you need to take care of yourself? Because if you have all these people that need you, what are they going to do if you're not there?
Or when you're sick. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just, and our bodies give us signs. We know when it's creeping up on us, and then if we don't listen, then it gets a little louder and a little
Mhm.
louder. And sometimes it's in the form of a cold, and sometimes it's in the form of a chronic illness. And
Yeah.
that's being able to do small things proactively before all of that is, I think, definitely the way to go.
Yeah, definitely going to help. So
Hmm.
if somebody's out there listening to us and they're like, oh, that's totally me. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm in it for my job and the family and the house and whatever, like everything comes before me. Where do you recommend that they start? Obviously, get a coach because that will definitely be helpful.
Right.
But what could they practically do, like even just today or
Hmm.
tomorrow, put into their schedule? And how do they do that if they're
Hmm.
uber busy?
Yeah, I encourage people to like start small, start practical, and start with an open mind, because like I can sense eye rolls sometimes with,
People are like, I don't have 2 seconds to rub together every day. And I,
right, or I don't have time for that, or well, that's not going to work,
right.
just
Yeah,
then just prove me wrong, go ahead and
sure.
take 2 minutes of just slow deep breathing. You don't have to clear your mind, you don't have to do all those things that you feel like you have to do.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
not a it doesn't have to be a perfect
Not like 30 minutes
meditation.
of yoga or meditation.
Right,
Doesn't have
right.
to be that
Just,
crazy.
and if you feel like you don't have time, then what I tell, especially some of my beginners, is when you're in the bathroom, take an extra 30 seconds to a minute while you're in there. Do your business, stand there, and just breathe. A
Right.
few slow, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Nobody is going to miss you that much. And if they do, then that's all the more reason you need to stay in there for that minute,
Sure.
because you really
Yeah, for
need
another
it.
minute or two.
Yeah. And, do those kind of things when you're in the bathroom, or when you're transitioning from work to home. If you're in the car before you go into work, give yourself a minute to just like prepare yourself, and think of, okay, hey, this is kind of what I want my day to be like. Not, I know it's going to be like this again, and just
Yes.
automatically
Mindset.
going to that
Working on your
negativity.
mindset.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. And
So
even
important.
when you do have bad days, because we all have them, trying to focus on 3 to 5 things, or one thing if you're really struggling that went well, and start kind of changing that to where you have that gratitude mindset, and you're looking more at abundance instead of all of the things that you're lacking or that aren't going well.
Yeah. And it's such an easy thing for us to say, but when somebody's really in it and they're
Mm-hmm.
in the weeds, I know it's really hard to see your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been there where I've been
Absolutely.
like totally overwhelmed and didn't know which way was up and juggling a million things and just like, how am I ever gonna survive this? When you're that in it, it's so, so hard to take
Mm-hmm.
these steps. But also, if you can find a way to even take like 5 minutes or 10 minutes in your day to just make it totally about you,
Mm-hmm.
it really will start to kind of unwind the craziness, because it does, it gets crazy when you're working full time and trying to raise kids and grocery
Mm-hmm.
shop and do the laundry, and kids are like, I'm supposed to bring cupcakes to school tomorrow, mom, and you didn't remember to make them, and like, ugh, pajama day, I missed a couple of those, and
Right.
Halloween party. Like, there's just so much on your plate when you're a working mother. And I think that it's just all the more reason to really, really focus and try.
Mm-hmm.
Even just start with 10 minutes on one day, and then,
Yeah.
maybe 2 days a week, and then kind of try to get bigger and bigger steps.
Right. And
Yeah.
then and think about how that helps you feel and how you show up. too, because a lot of times we feel like we don't want to do those things because it's selfish, because we're just taking care of ourselves. But the reality is, when we are taking care of ourselves, we show up better for other people. We're calmer, we're more patient, we don't fly off the handle as quickly and easily, because we're not just right there dancing on the edge all the time.
Right, right. I read, it must have been in your questions, um, something about there's two questions you can ask yourself.
Yeah. That's funny,
The,
because I was just thinking of that. Yes,
okay, explain that because I thought I read that in the list of questions that I had.
yeah. So my go-to question, and I mean, this is something I still use with myself regularly, is, when life gets overwhelming, because it will,
Because
and
it's life.
exactly, and especially when you have a good, full, thriving life, then it's easy to pile on too much stuff. And so when I get that feeling where I know, like, I feel on edge, or I feel my shoulders just keep kind of creeping up a little bit, then I'll stop and I'll ask myself, what do I need most right now?
Mm.
And I did this, it's been, oh gosh, probably a month or so ago, but I was really, I mean, I let things get too far, because it happens. I
As
joke
we
about the
all
fact,
do. Yeah.
right, and I joke that that's why I love talking about stress relief and self-care, because it helps me to keep focused on it so that I don't feel like a hypocrite.
Sure. Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, we all have to coach ourselves too, right?
Yes, yes. And so, and I did. When I asked myself that, I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I need. Like, I don't know right now. And I was like, okay, but what do I need most right now? And then I had to, like, get up physically, because I was sitting, and I thought, I need to get up and, like, move, because I just felt stuck.
Hmm.
And just that act of kind of moving, and really, it was, I mean, I was in here in this room, and I just started kind of doing this, I was just kind of moving all over. And as I did, and I asked myself that out loud probably 4 or 5 times. And then I was like, okay, what I need is to get this out of my head. And so, I sat down and did a brain dump. And there's other times when it's like, I need to go outside and take a walk, or I need to call a friend. I need to turn on some music and ignore all this for a little bit. There's
Mhm.
the answer is not always the same, but the
Right.
question, like, we usually know what it is that we need. Um, and even if I come up with things like a vacation, then that's probably not going to be able to happen instantaneously. But, like, what is it that I want about that vacation? Is it the new experiences? Is it the getting away from work or from family, if I'm thinking of going on a girls' trip? Like, what is it,
Right.
and how can I bring that into my days? And so that's kind of part of that. And then um it's is this, as I'm wanting to do something, or I'm considering doing something, is this bringing me closer to my goals?
Mm.
Because, and they don't have to be big, like, lifelong goals or everything. Maybe my goal is to, like, I just want to feel more content. I want to feel less stressed. It doesn't necessarily mean I want to run a marathon by April. It can be very, very personal, but very important things. And so, kind of knowing that, and thinking about, these things that I'm doing, are they getting me there? And what do I need most right now?
What I like about those questions is they're both I questions.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in this space of not taking care of yourself, it's always about what does everyone else need.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was something that I had to learn to do is like when somebody would ask me to do something, because I'm one of those people that if they need a volunteer, it's me, right? My husband
Yep.
jokes about it. He's like, tie
Mm-hmm.
her hands to her sides because if they need a volunteer, she's going to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you are in that space of overwhelm, if you can stop before you add one more thing to your plate and
Yes.
just say, is this really what I want to do? Or am I doing this
Mm-hmm.
to please my sister or my friend? Or like I'm pleasing my kids or my husband, even, or my
Mm-hmm.
workplace? Is this
Mm-hmm.
really what I want to do? Or is this just me people pleasing?
Right.
And I think that'll it kind of stops you from overscheduling and it kind of brings you back to these questions that you're asking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
how do I take better care of myself?
Right.
Basically what it is.
And I love what you said about that as far as the thinking about, is this what I want to do? And for me, I want to do everything.
Well,
I
that's
want,
kind of how I'm wired too. Yeah.
yeah. And I can see a help wanted sign at a gas station and I'm like, I bet that'd be fun. And
My mom always tells me that because people always tell me about their job, and I'm like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. I'd like to do that." She's
right.
like, "You want to do?" It's like she doesn't get that. She's like,
Yeah.
"You want to do everything," and I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of do," which is
Mm-hmm.
dangerous because
It
we're the kind
is.
of people that get in this spot where we're not taking care of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah,
And so I have learned to most of the time to, pause before I say, and I'm like, you know what, let me think about that, or let me look at my calendar and see if that's something that I can fit in, because
right.
it's something that can feel like, oh well, it's just this one thing, but then maybe I'll look and I'm like, okay, I've got a whole lot of one things going on this week or this month or
Yes,
whatever, and it doesn't matter how good something is if there's just not that margin in there. And I know when I've gone too far, when I start to feel like I'm excited when people cancel plans with me. Like, yes. Or I'm looking at things that maybe I enjoy, but I'm looking forward to them being over instead of like enjoying it. Oh
right,
great, I can't wait till Sunday because all those things that we're doing, with our family on Saturday will be done. And it's like, that's
right.
not how I don't want to live my life waiting for things to be over. So,
Yeah, and sometimes that volunteering is a way to avoid your actual life.
mhm,
That it's one of those things. Well, I'm just going to volunteer for this, and then I won't have to face my laundry or my
right.
my gardening that needs to be done or whatever. I love that.
Right.
So, is there something that I have not asked you that I should before we wrap this up?
I don't think so, really. I mean, I feel like we've had a really good conversation.
Really
And
good stuff.
yeah, we definitely have a lot of alignment. And I have, cats staring at me. So it's,
Oh, are they waiting for their dinner?
yeah, I've got one that likes to come up to my window and just look at me and meow until I let her in and then let her
I know.
out, let
I,
her in,
I
let her
fed
out.
my dogs before we got on here because I knew it would be an issue. So I have one that barks at me in the middle of the podcast if he's hungry. So I have to
Yeah,
right time his dinner around this. Well, it's been super nice meeting you. Tell people where they can find the book. Tell them the title of the book again. Tell them where they can get in touch with you if they want to check out your coaching and your becoming method. Share all of that if you would.
sure. So the book is Self Care Isn't Selfish: The Compassionate Nurse's Step-by-Step Guide to Personalized Stress Relief. And it's a simple little cover here, but it's available on Amazon in paperback, large print hardcover, Audible, and Kindle. You can also go to my website and get a free digital copy of that. And my website's just jennylytle.com. I've got lots of free resources on there, including a free copy of the book. I have a podcast that's just my episodes are like 4 to 10 minutes long, just
Nice.
quick, actionable things that are on there. So, yeah, and you can see about working with me and all things me from there.
What's your podcast called?
It is the Nurses Break Room with Jenny
Nurses
Lytle
Break.
RN. Yep.
Cool.
So
Love
if you search Jenny Lytle, you're gonna find me somehow.
I love that. Anything else we want to say before we sign off?
um, well, just I guess one more thing. Yes, if a book feels daunting, or if you're like, I don't have time to read a book, or I'm not a reader, if you go to my website, you can go to jennylytle.com/guide, or just go to the free resources there, and it's there. And it's just a quick guide that is, it's some simple tools to get you started quickly, without much time, without much effort, and without any overwhelm.
I
So
love
that's
that.
all.
Yeah, and that's what we all need. We all need to simplify a little bit and take care of ourselves, right? That's the
Absolutely.
lesson from this podcast. This week I want you to pick one thing to do to take care of yourself. And if you can't think of anything, reach out to Jenny or me and we'll help you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I really
Well, it's been
appreciate
so
it.
nice meeting you. It's been really fun, and I wish you well with the book sales and the coaching. It's a fun job to do.
Yeah. Well, you too. You too.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening and have a beautiful week, everyone. Bye. Bye, Jenny.
Bye.
Yay.